Chapter 43-52. Cell phone reading. After hearing this voice, Ren Jianming's body suddenly trembled slightly. Raising his eyes again, his pupils reflected the second floor. That alluring young lady with her pink lips curled into a teasing arc. His face instantly felt as though it was scorched by fire. His heart suddenly tightened, as though something was strangling him fiercely. It was extremely difficult to breathe. Not willing. His unbearable side was revealed in front of Yiqing Luo. Not willing, when he was in such a sorry state, it was Yiqing Luo who stopped him. Does Princess Xia Zhu lack a man's love? Yiqing Luo lifted her red dress as she flipped over the railing on the second floor. It shocked Wang Fuxing and Gu Zixi, who were behind her, as they broke out in cold sweat. Luo had no profound energy now. Jumping down from the second floor, she would definitely be injured. Gu Zixi hurriedly flew downwards, trying to catch Yiqing Luo. But she saw the young lady's nimble figure, as she landed steadily on the ground, breathing, without the slightest bit of panting. Yiqing Luo curled her lips at Gu Zixi, indicating that she was fine. What a joke! Even if she lost her profound energy, her own power was still there. Just the height of a two-story building. She was more than enough. Eldest young miss of the Gu residence. Gong Xiazhu stared fiercely at this lady who had disturbed her, as the accumulated anger from the new and old hatred surged in her chest. She stood up and blocked in front of Ren Jianming. This princess has always admired Brother Ming. He is my future prince consort. Prince consort. Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose as she gave a smile which didn't look like a smile. I didn't see him agreeing to be your prince consort. Gong Xiazhu clenched her fists tightly. He will agree. So, you're forcing a good woman to be a prostitute. Yiqing Luo tilted her head, as her long and narrow eyes curved. How much does Princess Xiazhu lack love? And no one wants her. That's why she would forcefully snatch a man to be her prince consort on the streets. She touched her chin, as she smiled and asked softly, could it be? Princess Xiazhu actually has some hidden illness. Eldest young miss. Gong Xiazhu gritted her teeth and glared at her. Her tone was full of threat. No matter what you say, I must take Brother Ming away. Since you've already rejected Brother Ming and aren't willing to accept him, why don't you return him to me? Still. Yiqing Luo was all smiles as she raised up a finger and shook it. Princess Xiazhu has used the wrong words. Ren Jianming had never belonged to you, so how could you say he is still yours? Gong Xiazhu's face turned red. Without saying a word, he bent down and helped Ren Jianming up. Let's go. Princess Xiazhu, did I say that you can leave? Yiqing Luo crossed her arms around her chest as she strolled around in a mischievous manner. She walked to the entrance of the restaurant and blocked their path. Gong Xiazhu opened her arms and stood in front of Ren Jianming. What right do you have to stop me? Yiqing Luo shot a glance at the man behind her. He still owes me a few favors. How is it possible for him to leave now? Whatever he owes, this princess will return it. Gong Xiazhu replied without any hesitation, whatever you want, this princess can give it to you. TSK. It's so touching. Yiqing Luo's smile widened. Unfortunately, you don't have anything that I want, so you can only return him to me. She intentionally emphasized the word return, as though she was ridiculing something. Gong Xiazhu's face turned green and then white, as her venomous gaze seemed as though it was dipped in poison. Her facial features were already out of control, as it turned sinister and terrifying. This book came from Chapter 43-53. In 1 second, there was no pop-up window for free reading. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. Yiqing Luo's tone suddenly turned cold. That pair of narrow smiling eyes were filled with a biting cold intent. A pair of long and narrow eyes with a smile, at this moment, was also bitingly cold. Gong Xiaozhu was so shocked that her heart jumped. This princess will absolutely not let go. Gong Xiaozhu was so shocked that her heart skipped a beat. I will never let him go. Her eyes were burning and filled with insanity. This violent knock was extremely strong, causing Yi Qing Luo's arm to feel sore and numb. This ferocious collision was extremely powerful, causing Yi Qing Luo's arm to feel a little sore and numb. He struggled, trying to break free from the restraints of the maids. But the duo's strength was so great that he couldn't break free at all. His eyes were scarlet red and his eyes were filled with anger. Gong Xiaozhu. Whatever you want to do, whatever you've discussed with my eldest sister, come at me. Whatever you want to do, whatever you've discussed with my eldest sister, come at me. You can't even protect yourself and you're still trying to show off. Yi Qing Luo glanced at him. So? Second young master Ren is planning to go to the princess residence to be the prince consort. I'm worried about you. Ren Jianming pursed his lips tightly as his tone was tense. Yi Qing Luo lifted her eyelids lazily as her brows were filled with laziness. Just worry about yourself. Ren Jianming's heart felt as though it had been shot by a bullet as it was extremely painful. He had never felt that there was anything good about his innate talent or cultivation genius. He had never felt that his profound grade was high or that his ability was strong. But at this very moment, he hated himself for being unable to protect Yi Qing Luo. Ren Jianming clenched his fists tightly as his gaze turned towards Gong Xiaozhu. Gong Xiaozhu, don't implicate innocent people because of your ridiculous possessiveness. The scene of the two conversing as though nothing had happened. Then she heard Ren Jianming's stern berating. Gong Xiaozhu seemed to have been agitated as she slowly and stiffly raised her head towards Ren Jianming. His slightly ferocious face was filled with ruthlessness. You're protecting her. Brother Ming, you're protecting her. She suddenly laughed and suddenly stretched out both hands to grab Yi Qing Luo's arm. Brother Ming is mine. He can only be mine. Don't think that we don't dare to touch you, Gu residents. Ha! After grabbing Yi Qing Luo's arm, a burst of profound waves surged out from Gong Xiaozhu's palm. The rampaging profound waves coiled around Yi Qing Luo's arm. Gong Xiaozhu's eyes were filled with madness. I'd like to see if a good-for-nothing can still seduce Brother Ming after losing an arm. Each wave of profound light was stronger than the last. As though it was about to explode in Yi Qing Luo's hands. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. Could it be that Princess Xiaozhu had gone mad from love? She wanted to use profound energy to destroy eldest Mrs. Hand. This would incite a conflict between the Gu residents and the imperial family. For the sake of the second young master of the Ren clan, Princess Xiaozhu was willing to disregard the reputation of the royal family. However, everyone was shocked. However, no one took the initiative to mention this matter. When the sandpiper and the clam fight, the fisherman benefits. The two dragon heads of the Gu residents and the imperial family clashed. They would be the only ones who would benefit. However, the person involved in this matter looked very relaxed at this moment, and there was not a hint of panic on his face. The corners of her mouth were still curled up in a cold arc that seemed to be a smile yet not a smile. As though she was ridiculing Gong Xiaozhu's stupidity. Under that pair of enchanting eyes gaze, Gong Xiaozhu actually felt an enormous pressure, pressuring her so much that she couldn't breathe. That slut had already lost her profound energy. She must be intentionally pretending to be calm. She couldn't escape from her attack. Gong Xiaozhu kept on placating herself in her heart. The profound waves on the hands which were clasped on Yi Qing Luo's wrist became even more intense. Chapter 43-54. In a second, there was no pop-up window for free reading. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. Suddenly, a deafening explosion was heard. Suddenly, a deafening explosion was heard. The air vibrated as the profound wave was like a ripple as it rippled in the surroundings. Gong Xiaozhu's body was violently sent flying. Even the surrounding maids were jolted away by an invisible airwave. Whoever dares to touch Al Luo, Huang Fuxing will absolutely not let them off. Huang Fuxing's sleeves moved slightly as the profound wave was emitted from his entire body. That pair of dark golden eyes were sparkling with a strange radiance. As he was saying that, he walked towards Yiqing Luo. Gong Xiaozhu finally managed to stand up with the help of the maids. Hearing Huang Fuxing's words, her expression turned chilly. Young Master Huangfu, what do you mean by this? Taking action against this princess, is the Huangfu family trying to go against the royal family? Huang Fuxing straightened his back as his expression was dignified and solemn. I'm merely seeing injustice on the road. He paused slightly and continued, Princess Xiaozhu snatched someone on the streets and the person was a man. Based on what Princess Xiaozhu said, my helping her is representing the Huangfu family's attitude. Then, Princess Xiaozhu's action of snatching a man on the streets is representing the royal family's attitude, right? Gong Xiaozhu's face turned pale as her fingers clenched tightly. He is my prince's son-in-law. This princess is looking for a son-in-law to return to the palace. It has nothing to do with you. So the royal princess has already fallen to the extent where she needs to randomly pull a man on the streets and acknowledge him as her son-in-law. Huang Fuxing sneered, this kind of strange news, looks like I have to enter the palace and ask the emperor personally if this kind of action is permitted by him. Gong Xiaozhu's expression sunk, you. She opened her mouth but had no way to refute. Looking at Huang Fuxing's ridiculing expression, and looking at Yiqing Luo's face, the cold arc which seemed like a smile yet not a smile. Her pupils contracted as the glint became extremely sinister. Young Master Huangfu's stance is indicating your own attitude, right? Huang Fuxing looked at her indifferently. What does Princess Xiaozhu mean? You've come to the ancient city to represent the Huangfu clan. Are you certain that the Huangfu clan will allow you to offend the royal family for the young lady of the Gu clan? She laughed coldly. Everyone in the old city knows that Bone Lord has never officially acknowledged her existence. From the beginning to the end, it was only the housekeeper of the Bone residence, Gu Yun, who said that she was the first young lady of the Gu residence. No one knows the truth. At this point, Gong Xiaozhu seemed to finally have some confidence. She raised her chin and said, are you going to take such a big risk to go against me? Huang Fuxing was about to speak. Yiqing Luo pulled his arm, there's someone behind her. Just now, when Gong Xiaozhu was flustered and exasperated, she said, do you think we don't dare to touch you? He said, we, not I. In addition, Gong Xiaozhu was obviously very confident now. He had been forcing Huang Fuxing to admit that he was representing the Huangfu family to support Yiqing Luo and go against the royal family. Yiqing Luo could roughly guess the cause and effect. Huang Fuxing glanced sideways as he smiled lightly at the hand which was placed on his arm. His thin lips curled up as he gave a gentle smile. I know, but now that I have the ability to help you, I will definitely help you. He held Gu Zixi hand tightly as the both of them smiled at each other. Zixi and I will stand on your side, no matter how steep the road ahead is. She could hear the sincerity in Huang Fuxing's tone. Yiqing Luo's eyes softened. You guys. If you're not afraid of trouble, then I won't stop you. Chapter 43-55. Come and question. Huang Fuxing also smiled. Don't underestimate my efforts in the heaven realm this month. After he finished speaking, he turned to look at Gong Xiaozhu and said, Princess Xiaozhu, I, Huang Fuxing, will definitely interfere in today's matter regardless of personal reasons. Gong Xiaozhu's face twisted. Young Master Huangfu is really unyielding. I want to see how you're going to interfere in my matters. She took a step back. Then, two figures descended from the sky and stood in front of Gong Xiaozhu. Pei Sheng. What right do you have to represent the Huangfu family and clash with the royal family? A man dressed in brocade clothes questioned. Don't think that you can joke around with the Huangfu family's reputation just because you are loved by Grandpa. Beside him stood a beautiful and exquisite woman. She sneered and added, people from the lower realms will always be from the lower realms. You don't even know how to consider the big picture. I don't know why Grandpa asked you to return to the Huangfu family. After a pause, the woman continued with a disdainful look. I told you long ago that it was a wrong decision to let you represent the Huangfu family. The ranking hasn't even started and you've already made such a big mess. Let's see how you explain to Grandpa when he comes. It's eldest young Master Huangfu and fourth Miss Huangfu. They came to the old city too. From what they said, it seems like they are very dissatisfied with the new young master of the Huangfu family. Haven't you heard? That young Master Huangfu is the cousin young master that old Master Huangfu brought back from the Earth realm. Earth realm. Why would the young master of the Huangfu family be in a place like the Earth realm? Why do you care so much about the big family's matters? We're going to have a good show to watch. Everyone's attention was attracted by the appearance of the two famous young master and young miss of the Huangfu family. They couldn't help but discuss the gossip in front of them. The discussions around him didn't affect Huangfu Xing at all. His expression didn't change at all. His gaze was calm as it landed on the two people in front of him. He scoffed. Didn't Grandpa ask you two to reflect on your mistakes in the courtyard? Why did you sneak out? Aren't you afraid that Grandfather will blame you? These two people were the eldest young master of the Huangfu clan, Huangfu Dongyu, and the fourth young miss, Huangfu Fengyan. You! Both of their faces stiffened. Huangfu Fengyan's body stiffened, but she sneered and looked at Huangfu Xing coldly. Whether Grandfather will blame us is none of your business. Oh. Huangfu Xing let out a smile. Then I won't trouble you two with what I'm doing now. It's none of your business. Huangfu Fengyan sneered as she shot a glance towards Yiqing Luo's direction, as her eyes were filled with an unconcealable chilliness. What you're doing now concerns the entire Huangfu family. Huangfu Dongyu slowly walked forward with a dignified gaze. Pei Xing, apologize to Princess Xia Zhu immediately. Also, guarantee that you will no longer interfere with anything related to the Gu residence. In your dreams. Huangfu Xing spat out two words without hesitation. Since you want to put the Huangfu clan in an unjust position, don't blame me for doing what I have to in order to protect the Huangfu clan. Huangfu Dongyu seemed to have predicted Huangfu Xing's reply as he waved his hand. Instantly, numerous white-dressed Huangfu secret guards rushed in from outside the crowd. So shocked that everyone in the restaurant ran out of the restaurant as they stuck to the entrance of the restaurant to watch. Huangfu Xing took a step back. 10 over Huangfu's secret guards who were also dressed in white stood in front of him. End of this chapter. Chapter 43-56. Remember in 1 second, love still small say net. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. There were more than 30 people on the other side. On Huangfu Xing's side, there were only a dozen people. Moreover, Huangfu Dongyu was obviously on the same side as Gong Shizhu. If they really fought, Huangfu Xing and the Gu residents had no chance of victory at all. Huangfu Xing's back was still ramrod straight. He placed his hands behind his back and looked expressionlessly at the dark team guards in front of him. Don't forget, it was Grandfather who asked me to represent the Huangfu family to handle all matters related to the ranking list. Grandfather was deceived by you. Huangfu Fengyan snorted coldly, her eyes filled with disdain. Huangfu Dongyu seemed to have thought of something as the corner of his mouth raised into a mocking sneer. Pei Xing, let me tell you, the current patriarch of the Huangfu clan is my father. Huangfu Xing's face froze. He could not refute this statement. After all, Huangfu Zhentian had already given all the authority to his son. Huangfu Jintian had brought him and Gu Zixi back to the Huangfu clan and made him the representative of the Huangfu clan to participate in the honor list this time. The Huangfu clan had already given Huangfu Jintian the most respect. If Huangfu Jintian still insisted on interfering, it would be too much. It would only cause the current patriarch, Huangfu Dongyu's father, to misunderstand. In fact, he had heard such rumors in the Huangfu clan many times. Amidst this chaotic and solemn atmosphere, young Master Huangfu is right. The current patriarch of the Huangfu family is young Master Huangfu's father. The girl's voice sounded leisurely and carelessly. He put a hand on Huangfu Xing's shoulder and pushed him to the side. Huangfu Xing was stunned for a moment before he moved his body along with the girl's force. Yiqing Luo leisurely walked past Huangfu Xing and walked to the front. She crossed her arms in front of her chest, a languid expression on her face. That is to say, young Master Huangfu's every word and action represents the current patriarch of the Huangfu family, right? Huangfu Dongyu's heart tightened. The minute Yiqing Luo opened her mouth, it would absolutely be a trap. He stared vigilantly at Yiqing Luo, not intending to reply. But Yiqing Luo wasn't affected at all. Her slender fingers stroked her chin as she continued with a smile. Princess Xia Zhu now is representing the royal family to forcefully snatch a man on the streets to make him her prince consort. Since young Master Huangfu agrees with Princess Xia Zhu so much, he must like being robbed. Why don't you become Princess Xia Zhu's son-in-law? One likes to rob others, and the other likes to be robbed. Isn't it perfect? Isn't it a perfect match? Huangfu Dongyu's face darkened. What prince consort? Don't spout nonsense. Who wants to be her husband? Gong Xia Zhu, who was standing by the side, upon hearing Yiqing Luo's words, his expression turned extremely gloomy. Now that she heard Huangfu Dongyu's rebuttal, her mood instantly exploded. I only have Brother Ming in my heart. No one else can be my son-in-law. As soon as he finished speaking, the two of them glared at each other. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a smile which didn't look like a smile. The two of you look rather compatible. Gong Xia Zhu knew that Yiqing Luo was intentionally sowing discord. But she couldn't avoid having some enmity towards Huangfu Dongyu. Yiqing Luo spread out her hands, as though she was joking, as she turned her head to look at Huangfu Xing. Ah Xing, when old master arrives, help me ask old master. The dignified Huangfu family and the royal family have the hobby of snatching people on the streets. Who did they learn it from? Chapter 43-57. His appearance. 1. Don't keep saying that you're robbing a commoner. Is that all you can say? Gong Xiaozhu's face turned red. Yiqing Luo tilted her head as her eyes were filled with ridicule. I'm merely stating the truth. Since Princess Xia Zhu dares to do it, then you must be mentally prepared to be gossiped about, isn't that so? Gong Xiaozhu looked as though she had eaten a fly, and her expression was extremely ugly. The situation was getting out of control. Huangfu Fengyan immediately spoke out, Yiqing Luo, don't intentionally stand there and talk nonsense. Our Huangfu clan doesn't care what Princess Xia Zhu did. All I know is that I can't let an outsider like Pei Xing destroy our Huangfu clan. With Huangfu Fengyan's reminder, Huangfu Dongyu finally reacted and continued Huangfu Fengyan's words, that's right. I'm only here to stop Pei Xing. Yiqing Luo burst out laughing. She glanced at Huangfu Dongyu with disdain. You said it yourself. If Ah Xing helps me, he represents the Huangfu clan against the imperial family. If you help Princess Xia Zhu, doesn't that mean the Huangfu clan is helping Princess Xia Zhu? In other words, you're helping the wicked. After spitting out the last 4 words, Yiqing Luo leisurely said with a pause after every word, as a person, you cannot have such double standards. Huangfu Dongyu subconsciously looked at Huangfu Fengyan. Both brother and sister's expressions became extremely ugly. Huangfu Fengyan pursed her lips tightly. She was very clear that it was impossible to reason with Yiqing Luo. Her eyes turned cold and her expression turned serious. Big brother and I will only do things that are beneficial to the Huangfu family. As for the other consequences, I won't care about it for now. She threw a glance at Huangfu Dongyu. Huangfu Dongyu understood and ordered, "Stop Pei Xing from using the Huangfu clan's resources." "Yes." More than 30 Huangfu secret guards replied in unison. Then, he charged at Huangfu Xing. The dozen people that Huangfu Xing brought with him were all people that he had trained in the past month. Both sides fought fiercely. Huangfu Fengyan hid behind the crowd. A trace of disdain flashed across her eyes as she looked at Gong Xiaozhu, whose face was ashen and twisted. However, when Gong Xiaozhu looked over, Huangfu Fengyan's expression had already changed. "Princess Xiaozhu, I'll leave the rest to you." Gong Xiaozhu clenched her fists as a cold light flickered in her eyes. She gave a cold laugh as her gaze fell onto Yiqing Luo. "Bring back this princess's son-in-law. Anyone who tries to stop me will be killed without mercy." Huangfu Xing was entangled by Huangfu Dongyu's men. When the royal family's guards that Gong Xiaozhu brought along attacked Yiqing Luo, the people that Huangfu Dongyu brought were even fiercer. Huangfu Xing and Gu Zishi couldn't help her at all. Chapter 43-58. His appearance, too, her charming eyes were blinking. It accentuated the young lady's gorgeous face, innocent and pure. But those who knew the young lady in front of them were very clear. The young lady's true face under this mask. Gong Xiaozhu's expression was gloomy. Looking at the young lady's expression, she had an ominous premonition. But looking at the young lady's mocking gaze and smile, her heart was filled with uncontrollable resentment. Gong Xiaozhu's expression twisted. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly. "Are you silly, forgetting so quickly? What about me? I have so many backers, do you think you can hurt me?" The young lady's arrogant words were filled with endless delight. As though she was provoking Gong Xiaozhu. Profound waves flowed. In front of the young lady, a black figure appeared, blocking the Huang family's guard. After both sides' profound energy clashed, both sides retreated a little. That was Gu Residence's #1 secret guard, Gu Yi. Regarding Gu Yi, basically the entire heaven realm had heard of him. After all, he was Bone Lord's secret helper. It could be said that Bone Lord's secret matters were all done by Gu Yi. Gong Xiaozhu knew that Yiqing Luo had Gu Residence's secret guards by her side. But she didn't expect a powerful figure like Gu Yi to actually follow beside a trash every day, to be a trash's guard. This was simply a waste of God's talent. "Gu Yi, are you sure that lady is the person that Gu Residence has acknowledged? You're so loyal to her, aren't you afraid that you'll follow the wrong person and betray Bone Lord?" Gong Xiaozhu stared at Gu Yi, attempting to influence his thoughts. But unexpectedly, Gu Yi totally ignored her. Gu Yi's attention was focused on the Huang family's guard. The expression on his face was solemn and cold. "Eldest miss, do we need to increase the number of secret guards?" Yiqing Luo crossed her arms as she spoke languidly. "These people are not your match. Just fight and kill. I'll take care of everything for you." "Yes." Gu Yi didn't waste any time as he agreed to Yiqing Luo's command. Gong Xiaozhu snorted coldly. "Just a small secret guard, since you're looking for death. This princess doesn't need to care about Bone Lord's face." Her gaze turned and looked towards the outside of the crowd as her voice sounded unusually treacherous. "Young Miss Bai, I'll have to trouble you." As soon as she finished speaking, a woman in a pale pink dress flew out from the crowd and landed in front of Gong Xiaozhu. The woman had a young face and looked to be no more than 15 or 16 years old. But her figure was very hot and sexy. Her breasts were curvy, and her every movement was filled with the seductiveness and charm of a mature woman. The woman's facial features were exquisite and beautiful, but there was a vulgar charm in her eyes. It made people feel extremely uncomfortable. He didn't know why, but when he saw this woman, he felt a chill run down his spine. Yiqing Luo felt a sense of familiarity. She had seen this woman before. No. If she had really seen him before, there was no way she wouldn't remember him. Miss Bai, I'll have to trouble you to deal with that slut. Gong Xiaozhu's attitude towards that woman was very respectful. The woman smiled charmingly. The gaze he shot towards Yiqing Luo was filled with cold murderous intent. Her fingers caressed her lips, overflowing with seductiveness. Swaying her willowy waist, she walked towards Yiqing Luo in a flirtatious manner. The pale pink dress fluttered, it was obviously a pure and fairy-like look. But it had forcefully turned into a vulgar one. Just at this moment, a light and slow footsteps were heard. The footsteps were light and slow, but each step seemed to be stepping on everyone's hearts. His stomach hurt. He had promised to catch up on the last chapter today, but he couldn't do it anymore. Drag it for a day, catch up tomorrow, meow meow meow, end of this chapter. Chapter 43:59. After all, she had changed her face. Very quickly, the lady walked in front of Yiqing Luo. Her target was very clear. A pair of gaudy eyes stared straight at Yiqing Luo. Immediately after, her red lips curled upwards, curling into a charming smile. Yiqing Luo frowned as her eyes congealed. Who are you? Giggle giggle. The lady covered her red lips with her slender hand as she laughed. This smile was extremely charming. It didn't match with that young and elegant face. She hooked a lock of hair on her shoulder as she held it by the side of her lips. Her posture was extremely sexy. Don't you recognize me so soon? Her fingers slowly caressed her face as she laughed softly. That's true, after all I have changed my face. Yiqing Luo's pupils shrunk. Her eyes were fixated on the lady in front of her. She finally knew why she felt that this lady was familiar. Bai Mei. This kind of natural charm and that kind of vulgar behavior. Other than Bai Mei, there was no one else. The last time in the Earth realm, Bai Mei intentionally brought along a Xian's imposter to create havoc in the Earth realm. It was obviously another face. Why did she change her face now? This Bai Mei had really gone mad. Thinking of me. Bai Mei giggled. It's rare that you still remember me, it really makes me happy. When she said the last sentence, Bai Mei's tone was obviously heavier as it was filled with venom. This time round, what are you trying to do? Seeing Bai Mei's appearance, Yiqing Luo was almost certain that the secluded palace had really interfered in the heaven realm's matters. And now Bai Mei had found Gong Xiaozhu. Apparently, it was because she knew of her existence. Then, what Rin Jianming said about the rankings was most probably true. Bai Mei slowly raised her hand. Her fair fingers curled slightly as it turned into a claw shape. You who have lost your profound energy. How can you escape from my palm? As soon as she finished speaking, Yi Zichen's expression changed. Her hand swiftly grabbed towards Yiqing Luo. A ray of silver light flashed past Yiqing Luo's eyes. The moment Bai Mei stretched out her fingers, a few thin steel needles emerged from her fingertips. The needle head was black. Poisonous steel needles. Yiqing Luo's brows creased as she speedily retreated backwards. Bai Mei gave a cold laugh, totally not worried that Yiqing Luo would be able to escape from her attack range. With a wave of his arm, he charged forward once more. Yiqing Luo, who had lost her profound energy, naturally couldn't be compared to Bai Mei. Even with his well-practiced footwork. Without the help of profound energy, Yiqing Luo merely evaded a few steps. Once again, Bai Mei clung onto him. The woman's young and beautiful face was filled with a flirtatious smile. His smile was mixed with absolute killing intent. No one can save you. No one. Bai Mei's other hand clasped onto Yi Qing Luo's shoulder. After locking him up, the hand with the steel needle pierced towards Yi Qing Luo's head. Are you sure? Yi Qing Luo's eyes flashed with a teasing glint as the corners of her lips curled into a cold arc. Bai Mei's heart trembled as an ominous premonition surged. Suddenly, the hand which was pressing on Yi Qing Luo's shoulder seemed to be scorched by a blazing fire. She was in so much pain that she was sent flying by an invisible flame. Before Bai Mei could react in time, all of a sudden, another powerful pressure came pouring down from the sky. Bai Mei only felt a deafening buzzing sound beside her ears. Following that, her limbs and bones felt as though they were broken. The pain was indescribable. End of this chapter. Chapter 4360. His appearance, 3, a majestic and terrifying aura lingered in the air. The entire restaurant was blasted apart because of this. The majestic aura was like a surging tide, crashing against everything in the surroundings. The surrounding crowd were all stunned by this powerful energy. What energy is this? Who is it? Such a powerful aura, I can't breathe. The crowd's discussions were all transmitted into Bai Mei's ears. She could feel more clearly than anyone else just how powerful this powerful energy was. A mouthful of blood spurted out from her mouth. Her internal organs felt as though they had been shattered. That slut still had a backup. She actually had a backer. Why was she so lucky? Why was it that every single time, there was someone who protected her? Bai Mei's heart was so jealous that it almost distorted. Everyone was extremely shocked, guessing who the owner of this energy was. Whereas Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes, as she slowly crossed her arms, the expression on her face was a little congealed. It's him. Why was he here? Could it be that it had something to do with the secluded palace? Her mind was filled with questions, hovering in her mind. She creased her slender brows slightly, as she raised her head and looked towards the direction of the profound wave. Even though she had lost her profound energy, towards that profound wave in the air, she could still feel it. Very familiar. She wasn't unfamiliar with it. Immediately following that, under everyone's gaze, a tall figure, as though stepping on the moon, appeared. The red flame brocade robe, the extremely cold imposing manner, formed an obvious contrast. But on this person, it didn't seem out of place at all. Following that figure walking out, a gush of terrifying aura floated in the air. The profound wave was misty. Everyone saw that. Extraordinarily handsome, but as though it was 1,000 years old frost, unable to melt that face. The crowd drew in a breath of cold air, and some almost couldn't stand still. He is Red Clear Pavilion's Pavilion Master. Heavens, why did the Red Clear Pavilion's Pavilion Master appear here? Wait, why did the Red Clear Pavilion's Pavilion Master make a move on the guest invited by Princess Xiaozhu? Could it be to save the first miss of the Gu residence? From the looks of it, the Pavilion Master of Hongqing Pavilion really seems to be protecting the first miss of the Gu clan. Everyone spoke one after another, their hearts filled with shock. He couldn't believe it. Rumor had it that the Pavilion Master of the Red Clear Pavilion had come from the God Realm, a mysterious power that could travel between the Earth Realm and the Heavenly Realm. While everyone was discussing the Hongqing Pavilion's Pavilion Master, Yi Qing Luo's half-squinted eyes retracted some of her expression. It was indeed him. Red Clear Pavilion's Pavilion Master, Zhu Wuxin. The man was as cold as jade, looking at her expressionlessly. He met the young girl's gaze. He then walked straight towards the young girl. His actions caused everyone to hold their breaths. Seeing that the man was genuine, he walked straight towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. All of them almost jumped up from the ground. The pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion was really trying to save the first miss of the Gu residence? What was the relationship between them? Why did this young miss of the Gu residence seem more and more sinister the more he looked at her? It seemed like ever since the first miss of the Gu residence appeared, all the people who wanted to find trouble with the Gu residence did not have a good ending. Could it be that this eldest miss of the Gu residence was actually hiding something deeply? The crowd's emotions were in turmoil. But the main character who shocked everyone, Zhu Wu Axan, didn't have any feelings. He slowly walked to the front of Yi Qing Luo and stood still. Long time no see. End of this chapter. Chapter 4361. Yi Qing Luo met his gaze. Long time no see. Zhu Wu Axan's eyes were burning as he stared intently at her face. Why? What? Yi Qing Luo, who was asked this question out of the blue, was in a daze. Zhu Wu Axan's voice sounded a little desolate. Why didn't you look for me when you knew I was in the heaven realm? That handsome face was covered with a desolate expression. It made his cold and aloof temperament even more desolate. It made one not dare to get close to him. But one couldn't help but feel heartache. Yi Qing Luo laughed lightly. Why should I look for you? Previously in the earth realm, Zhu Wu Axan had indeed said that he was going to the heaven realm to settle some matters when he bid her farewell. She had indeed never thought of looking for him when she reached the heaven realm. After all, towards Zhu Wu Axan, she didn't know what kind of attitude she should use to face him. Zhu Wu Axan's obsession towards her, or rather this body of hers, was too deep. She wasn't willing to have too much involvement with Zhu Wu Axan. Moreover, Dmo Xian wasn't in the heaven realm now. She was even more unwilling to have too much interaction with Zhu Wu Axan. Otherwise, if Dmo Xian found out, wouldn't he turn the vinegar jar upside down? You're still so cold towards me. Zhu Wu Axan laughed softly. His thin lips curled into a frivolous arc, filled with bitterness. Yi Qing Luo remained unmoved. It's good that you know. But I still want to get close to you. Zhu Wu Axan smiled again. Yi Qing Luo. She really wasn't used to Zhu Wu Axan's type of man suddenly saying sweet nothings. It made her feel uncomfortable all over. She rubbed her arms and stopped reminiscing with Zhu Wu Axan. Her gaze shifted from Zhu Wu Axan to Bai Mei, who was being supported by Gong Xia Zhu and Yuing. She raised her slender brows as her lips curled into a smile, yet not a smile. That time I asked you if your trip to the heaven realm was related to the secluded palace, you had nothing to say. Now. Yi Qing Luo's finger pointed at Bai Mei. You're together. Zhu Wu Axan's gaze was deep. If I'm together with them, I wouldn't have saved you. Do I look like someone who needs saving? Yi Qing Luo's lips curled as her eyes were filled with ridicule. For someone as smart as you, how could you possibly not tell that I'm setting a trap for Bai Mei? She slowly retracted her hand that was pointing at Bai Mei. Her fair and slender fingers gently touched her chin. The mockery and ridicule in her eyes intensified. Are you really helping me by making a move? Zhu Wu Axan's cold eyes seemed to be shaken by something. There were some slight changes. But very quickly, he was still as cold and indifferent as before. His gaze, which was locked onto Yi Qing Luo, was like a 10,000-year-old cold lake. In your heart, is this how you think of me? Yes. Yi Qing Luo replied decisively. I don't dare to say, I understand you. Chapter 4362. No relation whatsoever. Zhu Wuxin looked at her in silence. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled. You're here. Are you trying to stop this pointless battle, or are you trying to help Bai Mei to deal with me? Since you understand me so well, why not? Guess what I'm thinking? Zhu Wu Axan suddenly leaned forward and magnified his own face right into Yi Qing Luo's pupils. Yi Qing Luo looked at him indifferently. I'm guessing, both. And Zhu Wuxin's action. The surrounding people unconsciously sucked in a breath of cold air. When he saw the pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion take the initiative to speak to the first young miss of the Gu clan, he felt a chill run down his spine. The young miss of the Gu estate clearly did not have a good attitude towards the pavilion master of the Scarlet Clear Pavilion. But the master of the Red Clear Pavilion laughed again and again. Yes, he smiled. Anyone who had heard the rumors about the Hongqing Pavilion's pavilion master would know. The pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion was a cold and heartless man. People called him a person without a soul. He was always expressionless. Forever cold and indifferent. His entire body exuded a cold aura. But, however, when the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion faced the young lady of the Gu clan, he revealed a smile. Although, small is very shallow. It was almost too faint to be seen. But he did smile. Now, the pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion had even taken the initiative to get close to the young miss of the Gu residence. Wasn't this telling everyone? This first young miss of the Gu residence was a subordinate of his Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master? Everyone became more and more shocked and probed into the young miss of the Gu clan. With the Bone residence as her backing, Lord Bone Lord was her backing. The second young master of the Ren family was obsessed with her and adored her. He also had a close relationship with the young master of the Huangfu family. And now, even the master of the Red Clarity Pavilion had arrived. Just what was the identity of the first miss of the Gu residence? Everyone was rejoicing that they did not choose a side and make life difficult for the first miss of the Gu residence. There were also many people who looked at Gong Xiaozhu sympathetically. Gong Xiaozhu was so angry that her face was distorted, and the jealousy in her eyes burned continuously. She clenched her hands into fists and gritted her teeth so hard that they almost broke. Whereas for Yi Qing Luo, who was leaning close to Zhu Wuxian, wasn't the least bit shocked. He had no intention of retreating. Just like that, he smiled and met Zhu Wuxin's eyes. The distance between them was so close that they could almost feel each other's breath. Both of them were wearing fiery red robes. One was cold and aloof. One was bewitching and arrogant. They stood so close to each other. It was as beautiful as a painting. Everyone came to a realization. This first young miss of the Bone Palace, who did not have any profound strength and was called trash, was not inferior in the slightest when she stood beside the pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion. He wasn't suppressed by the cold aura of the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master at all. How could someone with such an aura be an ordinary person? The crowd discussed in hushed voices, as well as astonishment towards Yi Qing Luo's guess. Their tones were filled with unconcealable respect. This caused Gong Xiaozhu's face to become even more distorted. After enduring for a long time, she finally couldn't hold it in any longer. Pavilion Master, what's the relationship between you two? Yu Ying, who was supporting Bai Mei, did not manage to grab her princess in time. Gong Xiaozhu rushed forward a few steps, his eyes filled with anger. Pavilion Master, that woman is a promiscuous woman. She can't stand the loneliness at all and goes around flirting. Even this princess's fiancé has fallen under her skirt. You must not be deceived by her. The woman screamed hysterically. This caused the two of them to pull apart some distance. Zhu Wuxian shot a glance at Gong Xiaozhu as he spoke calmly. Yi Qing Luo, tell me, what's the relationship between us? Relationship? Yi Qing Luo's mischievous gaze swept past Gong Xiaozhu, and looked at Zhu Wuxian with a smile which didn't look like a smile. You and I have nothing to do with each other. Update complete. There's still the last chapter to update, to be delivered later. End of this chapter. Chapter 4363. 1 second to remember, this is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. N. Zhu Wu Axian seemed as though he knew that Yi Qing Luo would reply in this way. There wasn't a single bit of unhappiness on his face. On the contrary, his thin lips curled up again, and this time the arc was very obvious. It shocked the surrounding crowd. Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master really smiled. But what made everyone's jaws drop onto the ground was, after Zhu Wu Axian smiled, he used a deep husky, which could be said to be an extremely gentle voice as he spoke. To you, I have nothing to do with you. But to me, you are the lady whom I want to woo. The surroundings were filled with the sounds of people drawing in cold air. The crowd simply couldn't believe their own ears. They were absolutely dreaming, absolutely hallucinating. In the rumors, the mysterious and cold Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master was always unsmiling, and his pair of eyes could freeze one to death. But now, not only was he smiling at a lady, he even spoke words of love. There were quite a number of ladies present who clasped their hands together as hearts popped out from their eyes. My legs are going soft, this is just too tempting. So the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master isn't too cold, but the only person he wants to warm is eldest young miss of the Gu residence. He's cold and stern to everyone, but only towards Gu residence's eldest young miss. He treats her gently. This is all the ladies dream. The crowd felt that they had been shocked. All of them used envious gazes as they looked at Yi Qing Luo. These words, when landed in different people's ears, had different feelings. Gong Xiaozhu and Bai Mei were about to explode from anger. Their faces turned pale as their entire body started to tremble slightly. Their tightly pursed red lips were almost bitten till blood came out. The flames of jealousy were burning in their hearts, almost burning their rationality. Their venomous gazes were scorching hot. Yi Qing Luo naturally felt it. She raised her slender brows slightly as her long and narrow eyes squinted. The smile on her lips was filled with ridicule. Young Master Zhu's words are very moving, but you've used the wrong target. She only gave a slight smile. But in her half-squinted eyes, there was a chill that made one's heart tremble. Pavilion Master. In the end, Bai Mei could not bear it any longer. She shrieked, "Don't forget why you're here today." Bai Mei felt the most resentful. His internal organs were injured by Zhu Wuxin without any explanation. If it wasn't for her strong willpower and the fact that there was something in her body protecting her, he was afraid that he would lose his life now. But when it came to Zhu Wuxin, she still couldn't question him, couldn't seek justice for the injuries she had suffered. Because the other party was the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion. Even if she died, the Palace of Gloomy Darkness would not say anything for her. He was such an outstanding and honorable man. He was also Yi Qing Luo, that slut servant. That was how venerable sovereigns were. The pavilion master was the same. What's so good about that bitch? Bai Mei's face was contorted with rage. But, the moment the man's eyes met her eyes, Ji Yunshu's expression froze. It was as if 10,000 years of frost had directly covered her body. She felt a chill run down her spine. All the rage, in the blink of an eye, they were all extinguished. She felt as though she was immersed in frost, shivering non-stop. Do you have the right to speak when I'm doing things? Zhu Wuxin's cold voice was filled with endless chill. Bai Mei shivered as she lowered her head, not daring to say another word. The surrounding crowd understood what was going on. This eldest young miss of the Gu residence was someone whom none of them could touch. Chapter 43-64. 1 second to remember. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. The pavilion master of the Red Clear Pavilion was a person who placed the young miss of the Gu clan in the center of his heart and doted on her. It seemed that when it came to choosing sides in the future, they already had a candidate in mind. Chi, a chuckle broke the heavy atmosphere. The girl's eyes were filled with disdain as a cold glint flashed across her lips. Since young Master Chu is here on a mission, let's not waste each other's time. I am in a hurry to catch up with a friend that I haven't seen for a long time. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Zhu Wuxin replied with a calm expression. Then, he walked upstairs, minding his own business. It is indeed time for us to catch up. Yi Qing Luo, long time no see. This guy's skin was quite thick. He clearly knew that the person she wanted to reminisce with wasn't him. But he did it on purpose. He substituted himself. Was she supposed to cooperate? Yi Qing Luo rolled her eyes. He turned around and walked out of the ruined restaurant. He passed by the innkeeper of the restaurant who wanted to cry but did not dare to say anything. She raised her eyebrows. She thought of how the waiter had hurried over to tell her that Ren Jianming had been stopped. She stopped in her tracks, raised her hand and patted the innkeeper's shoulder. Princess Xia Zhu will bear all the losses of the restaurant today. Also, Princess Xia Zhu will also be responsible for the losses caused by the restaurant not being able to operate in the near future. The shopkeeper was dumbfounded. Yi Qing Luo smiled. Don't be afraid, she will be willing to take responsibility. Saying that, Yi Qing Luo left directly. Huangfu Sheng, Gu Zixi, and Ren Jianming, who were standing behind him, were still dumbfounded. He watched as Yi Qing Luo left. The three of them then regained their senses as they hurriedly brought their men and followed after Yi Qing Luo. Stop right there. Who allowed you to leave? Seeing this, Bai Mei snapped and ordered the guards beside her, stop them. Stop them. However, whether it was the Huangfu secret guards or the imperial guards, all of them stood on the spot and looked at each other. No one dared to move a single step. What a joke. The pavilion master had already made his stance clear. He wanted to protect the first miss of the Gu estate. If they rashly touched young miss, the master of the red clear pavilion would kill them. Who would dare to touch the young miss of the Gu estate? Bai Mei shouted several times, but there was no response. She was so angry that her face turned red. She was both angry and embarrassed. Even Gong Xiazhu, on seeing Ren Jianming leaving with Yi Qing Luo, didn't dare to go up and snatch it back forcefully. However, everyone was truly impressed. The first miss of the Gu estate actually dared to completely ignore the pavilion master of the red clear pavilion and leave by herself. If this happened to the emperor or the four great families' patriarchs, even they wouldn't dare to do this. In this world, only the first miss of the Gu clan would be so daring. At this moment, Zhu Wuxin, who was walking towards the second floor of the restaurant, stopped. He looked at the backs of Yi Qing Luo and the rest who were already far away. His cold and deep eyes were devoid of any emotion. Gong Xiazhu clenched his fists tightly and snorted coldly in a low voice, "That bitch really thinks she's so great. Does she think she can do whatever she wants with Bone Lord support? Pavilion Master is much more honorable than Bone Sovereign." Bai Mei did not respond. She stared intently at Yi Qing Luo's departing back. That young and elegant face, under the malevolence, actually surfaced several layers of wrinkles. As though a piece of human skin was about to peel off from her face. Gong Xiazhu didn't know. But she was very clear. Towards Yi Qing Luo, Chu Wu Axian was simply infatuated with her. Chapter 43-65. 1 second to remember. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. Even if Yi Qing Luo threw his face in front of everyone, Zhu Wu Axian wouldn't blame her at all. The more Bai Mei thought about it, the more indignant she felt. As expected, Zhu Wu Axian stared at Yi Qing Luo's back view for several breaths. It was as if he was certain that the other party would not turn around. Without any hesitation, he lifted his foot and followed behind. just as he reached the door. Zhu Wuxian seemed to have thought of something as he took a look at Yiqing Luo and then glanced sideways at Bai Mei. Earlier, did you hear what Yiqing Luo said clearly? The restaurant's losses will be compensated. Saying that, he had already followed behind Yiqing Luo. Bai Mei, he was so angry that he wanted to explode. He actually remembered clearly what Yiqing Luo had casually said earlier, and even put it into action. Gong Xiaozhu originally heard Yiqing Luo and the shopkeepers saying that she would be responsible for the losses, but she treated it as a joke. The last time at 100 Medicine House, she was cheated by Yiqing Luo of more than half of her assets. And now he wanted her to take responsibility for this lousy restaurant. However, Bai Mei seemed to have seen through her thoughts. She sneered and tilted her head to look at her. Didn't you hear what the Pavilion Master said? Are you sure you want to defy Lord Pavilion Master's orders? All the fluctuations in Gong Xiaozhu's heart stopped at this moment. She bit her lips tightly and only managed to squeeze out 2 words after a long while, I don't dare. Huangfu Fengyan and Huangfu Dongyu's expressions were also extremely ugly because of Zhu Wuxin's appearance. Until the figures of those people disappeared completely. Huangfu Dongyu's face darkened as he looked at Bai Mei. What's going on? Why is the Pavilion Master here? They had arranged everything. It was to take advantage of the moment when Yiqing Luo lost her profound energy. Kill Yiqing Luo. On top of that, he wanted Pei Xing to leave the Huangfu family. Why did it come to a critical moment? Just like that, a Lord Pavilion Master popped up. This was like a duck that was about to be eaten was suddenly snatched away by a tiger. Why are you getting mad at me? If you have the ability, ask the Pavilion Master's people. Bai Mei sneered coldly. Huangfu Dongyu still wanted to say something. However, Huangfu Fengyan stopped her. Bai Mei's face contorted, and her eyes seemed to be stained with poison. Head bitch, I will definitely make her suffer a fate worse than death. As she gritted her teeth, his expression became even more ferocious. Suddenly, Gong Xiaozhu's eyes widened and she looked at Bai Mei in fright. Miss Bai, your face. Bai Mei's ferocious expression froze on her face. He subconsciously reached out to touch his face. What's wrong with my face? The Huangfu siblings also looked over when they heard the exclamation. When he saw Bai Mei's face, both of them sucked in a breath of cold air and quickly retreated. Gong Xiaozhu was also shocked. She took 2 steps back and stared at her in shock. Your face, look at it yourself. In a flurry, she took out a small bronze mirror from Yu Ying's bosom. With a trembling hand, he tossed it into Bai Mei's hand. What Bai Mei cared about the most was her face. He immediately raised the bronze mirror. In the bronze mirror, wrinkles appeared on the woman's face. More than half of it fell off from her face, revealing the purplish-black flesh underneath. Pieces fell off here and there, wrinkles. It made her look extremely terrifying. Bai Mei suddenly burst out with a terrified scream. She smashed the bronze mirror onto the ground and covered her face, screaming as she turned around and fled the scene. These mournful cries, even though they were very far away, Yiqing Luo and the others could hear it. Gu Zixi looked towards the direction of the voice in puzzlement. What's the matter with that Bai Mei? How can she get high on her own? Chapter 43-66. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into an ambiguous smile. Ren Jianming limped as he walked by the side. Seeing the young lady's brows overflowing with craftiness, surely it's not you who did it. Yiqing Luo's pink lips were sweet like a fox's as her coquettish eyes squinted slightly as she said word by word, I merely gave her a small present, treated as Bai Mei's return gift to her. When the few of them saw Yiqing Luo smile, they couldn't help but shivered. One by one, they rubbed their arms, obviously knowing that Yi Qing Luo was a female devil. Bai Mei still dared to provoke her. Her courage was really commendable. Let's observe a moment of silence for her. The few of them were chatting happily. However, no one paid any attention to Zhu Wuxin, who had been following behind them in silence the whole time. Even though he didn't say a single word. But the imposing manner which he was emitting made one unable to ignore his existence. The chilly air spread in the air. In between breaths, even the air seemed to have been condensed into frost. Gu Zixi would turn her head around from time to time to look at Zhu Wuaxian. This frequent action. This made Huang Fuxing a little unhappy. Just as Gu Zixi turned her head around once again to look at Zhu Wuaxian, Huang Fuxing's large palm was placed on Gu Zixi's head. He cupped her face with his other hand. He turned her gaze to him. Gu Zixi blinked her eyes as she looked at Huang Fuxing, whose expression wasn't too good, and couldn't help but smiled as her arms hooked around his neck. "Hiya, you obviously know. I just wanted to see how long he was going to follow me for." Huang Fuxing's expression was still not too good. "You're not allowed to look at other men for so long." Alright, I'll only look at Xing alone." Gu Zixi leaned forward and planted a light kiss on his cheek. Huang Fuxing's expression then turned slightly better. But Yi Qing Luo, who was standing by the side, expressed that her expression wasn't too good. She hadn't contacted Xian for a long time. Now she didn't even know where Xian was. The two of them were actually openly showing off their love. Had she considered the feelings of her missing her husband so much that she fell ill? This baby also had emotions. Yi Qing Luo's offensive gaze. He successfully stopped the two from showing off their affection. Gu Zixi cast a sneaky glance behind her and giggled as she moved closer to Yi Qing Luo. "Don't be angry, even if there's no overlord, isn't there? There's still an outstanding man waiting for you." Yi Qing Luo pinched her waist. "When Xing goes out to handle some matters, I'll help you choose a few outstanding men. How about that?" Gu Zixi smiled apologetically. Okay, I was wrong. Don't let Xing hear this. It's too late, he has already heard it." Yi Qing Luo lifted her chin, indicating her to look behind her. He turned his head. She saw Huang Fuxing, whom she had finally appeased, had a gloomy expression again. Gu Zixi wanted to cry. "If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have been the cheapest." Looking at Gu Zixi coaxing her own man, Yi Qing Luo's eyes were filled with gentleness. Ren Jianming limped over to Yi Qing Luo and spat out a sentence, "Eldest miss." Suddenly, a gust of wind blew past his face. He opened his eyes again. Where was Yi Qing Luo's figure? Ren Jianming's face turned pale. He was about to call out to Huang Fuxing. But his eyes looked at the other side. Zhu Wuaxian held Yi Qing Luo's wrist as the both of them stood there. The atmosphere was solemn. Chapter 4367. It wasn't far. Yi Qing Luo raised her head slightly. The emotions between her brows were very faint. Her gaze fell onto the man's wrist which was clasped on her. "Let go of me. Do you hate me that much?" Zhu Wuxin's voice was a little bitter. He didn't loosen his grip and Yi Qing Luo could only struggle out of his grip while replying, "To tell the truth, I don't hate you." She rubbed her wrist and took a step back, putting some distance between them. Then, she raised her head and looked at him. "Why are you following me?" "I missed you." Zhu Wuxin's ability to say sweet nothings had already been activated. He used this expressionless face to say sweet nothings, but it did not feel out of place at all. Yi Qing Luo's eyes were filled with foolishness. Did Master Chu think that I didn't hear what Bai Mei said earlier? The relationship between Chu Wuxin and Gloomy Palace. Yi Qing Luo didn't intend to investigate further. No matter how he asked. Since Zhu Wuxian was unwilling to say it, there was nothing she could do. The only thing he could be sure of was, Zhu Wuxin was in the heaven realm because of the palace of gloomy darkness. The reason why Zhu Wuxin had appeared was also because of the gloomy palace. Thinking of this, the smile on Yiqing Luo's lips became even more ridiculing. To tell the truth, I am also very curious, what is the motive of Bai Mei reminding you not to forget? You want to know? Zhu Wuxin chuckled softly. There was a black mist in his eyes. There was a strange coldness in his deep and cold eyes. Yiqing Luo's brows creased slightly. Will you say it? As long as you come with me, I can tell you everything you want to know. Zhu Wuxin's thin lips curled up. His expression was ice-cold, but his tone was extremely serious. Yiqing Luo's heart sunk slightly as she subconsciously took a step back, as her eyes looked at Zhu Wuxian vigilantly. That vigilant look. It stung Zhu Wuxian's eyes. He couldn't help but laugh, his eyes full of bitterness. Did I completely lose your trust after one mistake? Yiqing Luo pursed her lips and didn't say anything. However, the wariness between his brows did not relax because of this. Zhu Wuxian gazed deeply at Yiqing Luo's face. The rumbling black fog in his eyes became thicker and thicker. He was almost drowned in the darkness. After a long while, the look in his eyes changed slightly. His thin lips moved slightly, and he said very seriously, I said, I will never do anything to hurt you. Yiqing Luo's pink lips pursed even tighter. She really couldn't figure out Zhu Wuxin. Zhu Wuxin's obsession with her was very deep. It had already exceeded the scope of a normal person. Yiqing Zhen couldn't imagine what kind of things a person who had gone crazy because of obsession would do. Especially those who were connected to the Dark Nether Palace. Zhu Wuxian didn't wait for Yiqing Luo's reply. What he said didn't make Yiqing Luo relax. His eyes darkened and his voice lowered. It's been a long time since we last met. Let's catch up. What do you want to say? Yiqing Luo asked. Let's find a place and have a drink. Zhu Wuxin did not give a direct answer. Yiqing Luo took a look at Zhu Wuxian and looked at the three people who were gathered not too far away, looking at her worriedly. She pondered for a moment before answering, okay. Gu residence, Yiqing Luo's courtyard. Guyun carefully served up the wine flask as she listened to Yiqing Luo's orders and retreated. The surrounding, Yiqing Luo had already asked everyone to leave. Guyun just walked out from the courtyard. Chapter 4368. Guyun shook her head. Everyone's faces fell. Although the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion lord's attitude towards Yiqing Luo seemed much gentler than the others. However, he was a cold-blooded and merciless person who killed without batting an eyelid. If Yiqing Luo's words made the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion lord unhappy? What if the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master made a move on Yiqing Luo? After all, Yiqing Luo had no profound energy. Thinking of this, Ren Jianming could not stand still. No, I have to go in and take a look. Who knows if the Scarlet Clear Pavilion's pavilion master will go berserk and make a move on our young miss. With that, he was about to rush into the courtyard. Huang Fuxing hurriedly pulled him back. Ah Luo must have something to say to him if he agreed to talk to him alone. Don't mess things up here. What do you mean by causing trouble? I'm worried about young mistress. Ren Jianming complained. Huang Fuxing suddenly stared at Ren Jianming, sizing him up as if he wanted to see through Ren Jianming. That blatant gaze. Ren Jianming clutched his chest uncomfortably. What do you want to do? Huang Fuxing narrowed his eyes. Ah Luo said that, you told the public that she is your fiancée and that you've been pestering her. It's all an act. But, why do I feel like you've really fallen for Ah Luo? Ren Jianming's heart skipped a beat. He opened his mouth to deny it. But when the words reached his mouth, the girl's confident and flamboyant smile appeared in his mind. He couldn't bring himself to deny it. Gu Zixi moved her little head over and looked Ren Jianming up and down. She raised her index finger and shook it. You better not fall in love with Al Luo. She already has a husband. If you really fall in love with her, you'll get hurt. Husband. Husband. When Ren Jianming heard these two words, he was startled. Gu Zixi's beautiful eyes widened. Yes, our Al Luo has a peerless husband, and their relationship is very good. Don't tell me, you really fell in love with Al Luo. Unparalleled in the world, their relationship was very good. Gu Zixi's words made Ren Jianming's heart feel like it had been punched hard by something. It made him feel suffocated. Why, when he heard that Yi Qing Luo had a husband? Why was his heart so sad? Could it be that he really? This thought made Ren Jianming shudder. He hurriedly shook his head. Although there were many scars on his handsome face, an exaggerated laugh appeared. I pestered her because I wanted her to promise me something. Ha ha ha, she's so violent, how could I fall for her? As he spoke, he let out an exaggerated laugh. Then, as if to change the topic, he asked curiously, is Mrs. name Al Luo? Is your relationship with First Miss very good? Yi Qing Luo had been in the heaven realm for this period of time. Everyone knew about the first young miss of the Bone clan. But he had never heard Yi Qing Luo mention her real name. That's right. Not only do we have a good relationship with Al Luo, but we also know a lot about him. Gu Zixi indeed didn't pursue further about his feelings towards Yi Qing Luo as he followed along with Ren Jianming's topic. In the courtyard, Yi Qing Luo pushed the wine pot in front of Zhu Wu Axian as she tilted her head and looked at him. Now it's quiet, what do you want to say? Say it directly. Zhu Wu Axian poured himself a cup of wine and downed it in one gulp. His indifferent face had no trace of emotion. Chapter 43-69. Accompany me for a drink or two. The man's deep voice was cold, but not knowing why, she could hear a few hints of pleading in it. Yi Qing Luo. This fellow was getting worse and worse at disguising himself in front of her. Words of love came one after another. Even the ability to act pitiful had already been activated. To tell the truth, towards other men other than Ao Xian, she wouldn't have much feelings towards any handsome man or bitter love scheme. But looking at Zhu Wu Axian's contrast. Moreover, towards Zhu Wu Axian, she really couldn't be considered as loathing or hatred. So she didn't really reject him. She picked up another jug of wine and poured a cup. She didn't even touch glasses with Zhu Wu Axian as she directly drank a cup of wine. Then she put down the wine cup and looked at Zhu Wu Axian. I've finished the wine, speak. Zhu Wu Axian's fingers which were holding the wine cup tightened slightly. His fingertips were strangely white. Between his pupils, there was a thick black mist, shrouding all his emotions. Just like that, he looked at Yi Qing Luo quietly. Between his brows, there was a sense of self-ridicule. Yi Qing Luo, who was stared at by this gaze, rubbed her arms as she angrily retorted, "What are you looking at? If you don't talk about proper matters, I'm going to chase you away." Looking at you. Another sudden words of love. Still expressionless emotions. Looking at that face. Yi Qing Luo was suspecting if she had heard wrongly. But immediately following that, she heard him continuing, "You won't chase me away." Incredible Zhu Wu Axian. She indeed wouldn't chase him away. After all, she couldn't beat Zhu Wu Axian now. If Zhu Wu Axian wasn't willing to leave, what could she use to chase him away? Yi Qing Luo took a deep breath, not willing to listen to Zhu Wu Axian's words of love. "Yes, I can't chase you away, but I can leave." Saying that, she stood up and turned around as she walked towards the inner courtyard. She hadn't even taken 2 steps. A man's low voice was heard from behind. By May came to Heaven Realm, and the reason why you came to Heaven Realm, don't you want to know? This sentence successfully stopped Yi Qing Luo from taking another step. She returned to the stone table and sat down, placing one hand on the stone table as she asked him, what reason? Let's drink. Zhu Wuxin shook his wine cup. Yi Qing Luo. She'd better leave. However, just as he was about to leave, the man continued, the Huangfu clan clearly knows your true identity, yet they allow Bai Mei to mess around with the imperial family. They don't expose your identity as the young miss of the Gu clan. Aren't you curious about the reason behind this? Yi Qing Luo, was Chu Wuxin doing this on purpose? Seeing that she still hadn't turned around, Zhu Wuxin unleashed his ultimate move. Even though they know that Di Zun won't let the Huangfu clan off, the Huangfu siblings still insist on killing you. Aren't you curious why? Yi Qing Luo, fine. You win. Yi Qing Luo lifted her skirt and sat back down heavily. He grabbed a bottle of wine and slammed it on the table. How do you want to drink? I'll keep you company to the end. Zhu Wuxian seemed as though he couldn't detect the anger in Yi Qing Luo's words as his cold gaze stared at Yi Qing Luo's face. Let's ask each other questions. If you can't answer, then drink. How about that? Truth or dare? Yi Qing Luo blurted out. Zhu Wuxian didn't understand the meaning of Yi Qing Luo's words, but he understood the first 3 words. His thin lips curled upwards as he replied seriously and solemnly, yes. It must be the truth. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose, all right. Sure. She could take the opportunity to ask him a lot of things which she had long wanted to know. Chapter 4370. Remember in 1 second, 800 mail sign /say net. This is a wonderful free reading without a pop-up window. Zhu Wuxin set up 2 cups and poured a full pot of wine. Yi Qing Luo stared at the rippling wine. Who asks first? Whatever, Zhu Wuxin replied calmly. Yi Qing Luo's pink lips curled as she replied impolitely, then I'll start first. First question, are you from the secluded palace? No. Zhu Wuxin's answer was very decisive. Yi Qing Luo raised her long and narrow brows. We have agreed, it must be the truth, no lies. I'm not lying. His expression did not change. Yi Qing Luo touched her chin. If you're not from the Palace of Darkness, then why are you involved with the Palace of Darkness? This is the second question. Zhu Wuxin did not answer. It's my turn to ask you. Yi Qing Luo spread out her hands. Sure, ask away. Do you have any feelings for me? Zhu Wuxin's gaze was solemn as he looked at her. Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips as her expression turned solemn. No. Zhu Wuxian's brows drooped slightly. Yi Qing Luo didn't want to explain anything as she asked the second question. Why are you together with the people from secluded palace? Cooperation, Zhu Wuxin answered simply. Yi Qing Luo rubbed her hair. What's the difference between your answer and not answering at all? Can't it be simpler? His entire body fell forward. F***ck. Yi Qing Luo was cursing in her heart. How could he be so unlucky? She was about to take a deep breath to stabilize her body that was about to kiss the earth. He didn't even have time to react. She could only smell a familiar scent drifting over to her nose. A light and elegant plum fragrance lingered in the air. A pair of thick arms caught her firmly. Yi Qing Luo's body stiffened. This aura, it was very familiar. Almost a whiff. Yi Qing Luo was able to ascertain the other party's identity. However, she couldn't understand. Why did he appear here? Yi Qing Luo frowned as she struggled, trying to break free from the wrist that was restraining her arm. But it was the arm that held her. He abruptly increased the strength of his hands. Her delicate body was tightly locked in his embrace. Yiqing Luo's brows creased even more tightly. She looked up angrily. As soon as he raised his head, he found himself staring into a pair of deep, bottomless black pupils. His eyes were extremely dark and heavy. It was quiet and serene, without the slightest bit of brilliance. Just staring fixedly at Yiqing Luo. There was a hint of coldness in his eyes. However, if one were to look closely, one would be able to see deep emotions in those black eyes. Yiqing Luo's petite body stiffened, her pink lips pursed slightly. Let go. Hugging the man at such a close distance. It made Yiqing Luo feel extremely uncomfortable. Other than Dmo Xian, her body was repulsed by any intimate touch from the opposite sex. I won't. The man's voice was deep and low. His eyes were dark and gloomy. I miss you. I miss you very much. Now that I've seen you, I don't want to let you go. Following his words, he even forcefully pulled Yiqing Luo into his embrace. His arms tightly embraced the girl's delicate body, as though he wanted to let the young lady's body be tainted with his scent. That plum fragrance, although simple and elegant. But Yiqing Luo couldn't take it. Her eyelashes fluttered as she clasped his hand, which was restrained on her body. Zhuwu Axian, let go of me. The person in front of her. Wasn't it Zhuwu Axian? Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master, Zhuwu Axian. Yiqing Luo had not expected that she would be able to meet Zhuwu Axian when she reached the earth boundary. Chapter 4371. Romance Chinese Network Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations. Yiqing Luo slowly sat up straight as her gaze met Zhuwu Axian's gaze seriously. Then I'll tell you. Just as Yiqing Luo was about to open her mouth, Chu Wuxin suddenly reached out, picked up the wine cup on the table, and drained it in one gulp. This action made Yiqing Luo swallow back the words that she was about to say. She looked at Chu Wuxin. What do you mean? You don't need to answer this question. He put down the wine glass, and his slender fingers slowly wiped away the wine dripping from his lips. Because of the alcohol, his eyes seemed a bit deep. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. He was the one who insisted on getting the answer. Now he was drinking for her and preventing her from answering. Yiqing Luo was unable to see through the person in front of her. What was he thinking in his heart? It's your turn to ask. Zhuwu Axian didn't give Yiqing Luo any time to continue thinking as he called out to remind her. Yiqing Luo stared at him for a while, but under his expressionless expression, she really couldn't see anything deeper. Fine, you're the one who won't let me answer. She restrained her emotions and continued to ask, you said before, what is Bai Mei's purpose in coming to the heaven realm? Was it arranged by the palace of gloomy darkness, or did they come after me? Zhu Wuxin, our target is you. I'll arrange it. You're using this simple answer again. Yiqing Luo pouted, can't you give me some useful answers? Bai Mei's only goal now is to send you to hell with her. This time, Zhuwu Axian lengthened his sentence. The palace of gloomy shadows knows that you are in the heaven realm, so they sent Bai Mei over. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes suddenly narrowed. As expected, the secluded darkness palace already knew that she was in the heaven realm. But there was no movement at all. If Ren Jianming hadn't come looking for her because she was a pharmacist, even now, she might not know that the heaven realm had already been infiltrated by the forces of the Nether Palace. Her arrival in the heaven realm could be considered as an accident. Even if she was arrogant in the heaven realm, it definitely wouldn't attract the attention of the Dark Palace. Unless, the secluded Darkness Palace had long known that she would arrive at the heaven realm at this time. In Yiqing Luo's mind, the first thought was, Blood-bone barbaric king. Could it be, all of this was actually a conspiracy set up by the blood-bone barbarian king and the Abyss Palace? Then, what was the use of white charm? Restraining by Su. Yi Qing Luo. Just as Yi Qing Luo's mind was filled with thoughts, Zhu Wuxin's voice rang out beside his ear. Did you hear what I asked you? Yi Qing Luo regained her senses. What? Zhu Wuxian stared at Yi Qing Luo for some time as the emotions on his face were like a whirlpool churning. After a long time, he finally said, I just suddenly want to know who you are. When he said the last 5 words, his tone became extremely low. A pair of deep eyes stared at her without blinking. It was as if he had seen through her eyes. He saw through everything about her. Yi Qing Luo's heart thumped, the smile on her lips was somewhat forced. What are you talking about? The her in my memory shouldn't be like you. Zhu Wuxian leaned forward slightly, closing the distance between the two of them. I've confirmed that you didn't disguise yourself, and you have her birthmark on your body. The close distance made Yi Qing Luo able to smell the faint plum fragrance from Zhu Wuxian's body clearly. But this fragrance wasn't able to make Yi Qing Luo's heart calm down. Chapter 43-72. 3464. Bringing out the evidence on the contrary, it made Yi Qing Luo's heart inexplicably flustered. She frowned as she took 2 steps back, avoiding Zhu Wuxian's aura which enveloped her. Zhu Wuxian didn't force himself to get close, but that pair of bottomless eyes turned even deeper and colder. Who on earth are you? His words paused slightly as he sat back down and his gaze fell onto the wine cup. Of course, you can also choose to drink wine. Yi Qing Luo's eyes, from the start till the end, had never left Zhu Wuxian's line of sight. Drink wine. Wasn't drinking wine to prove to Zhu Wuxian that she wasn't the original Yi Qing Luo? Her gaze suddenly congealed as her brows were covered with a layer of laziness. Her lips curled into a gorgeous smile, which was extremely dazzling. Young Master Zhu, what do you mean by this question? Now is the time for you to answer the question. Zhu Wuxian stared at Yi Qing Luo without blinking. All right. Yi Qing Luo sighed as she raised her hand and her slender jade fingers gently caressed her face. Her posture was graceful and alluring, as her wrist lifted the flame-robed sleeves, like a burning flame. Following that, was the young lady's clear voice, one word at a time, I am Yi Qing Luo. Truth. Zhu Wuxian's eyes sunk. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled, truth, I am Yi Qing Luo. She was indeed speaking from the bottom of her heart. No matter if it was in the past or now. Her name was indeed Yi Qing Luo. Zhu Wuxian's eyes deepened. Before he opened his mouth, Yi Qing Luo suddenly leaned in closer to him. Between her brows, there was a slight smile. Young Master Zhu, isn't this question of yours a little too funny? If I'm not Yi Qing Luo, then who do you think I am? Between his breaths, a delicate fragrance from the young lady entered his nose. Zhu Wuxian's body suddenly stiffened. That pair of sunken eyes congealed for a moment. Yi Qing Luo continued to smile sweetly. I'm very curious, what is the reason that made young Master Zhu? I'm not Yi Qing Luo. Right from the beginning. Zhu Wuxian's breathing was slightly tightened as his entire body tensed up, making him turn his head away. If he looked at the young lady's smile which was just inches away. From time to time, a delicate fragrance wafted into his nostrils. He was afraid that he would not be able to control himself. Zhu Wuxin's hands on the stone table were tightly clenched into fists. He despised himself in his heart. When facing Yi Qing Luo, he was always unable to control his true feelings. Yi Qing Luo saw Zhu Wuxian shifting his gaze away. Then, he sat back in his seat. Her lips curled upwards, her flowery pink lips curled into a teasing smile. right from the start, Master Zhu felt that I'm not Yi Qing Luo, then why repeatedly appear in front of me and say such ambiguous words? That's right. With that, she chuckled softly, or perhaps, young Master Chu is finding excuses for himself because he failed to woo her. If that's the case, I don't mind cooperating with young Master Chu. Yi Qing Luo. Chu Wuxin suddenly shouted. He suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed Yi Qing Luo's arm. He forcefully pulled her into his embrace. That strength was extremely great. Yi Qing Luo was also unable to struggle free. What do you mean? She raised her head as she looked at him quietly. Zhu Wuxian's gaze was suffused with a sliver of coldness. I want an answer. I've answered your question. Yi Qing Luo's tone also turned cold. Whether you believe me or not, that's your business. Zhu Wuxian's hand which was holding her arm increased in strength. Yi Qing Luo's brows creased slightly. If you feel that I'm not Yi Qing Luo, then show me the evidence. They were all shouting the Overlord, the Overlord. Where is the Overlord? Where is the Duck Overlord? The Overlord is in your hearts. End of this chapter. Chapter 43-73. Who I want to be with for the rest of my life. Zhu Wuxian's eyes were icy cold, and when he heard Yi Qing Luo's words, his body stiffened once again. He was stiff, and even his fingers on her arm were stiff. Just like that, the two of them looked at each other for a while. Yi Qing Luo had not the slightest fluctuation in her emotions. The atmosphere was tense. In the end, Zhu Wuxin loosened his grip. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up as she rubbed her wrist while looking at him with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Mr. Chu is really strange. Since in your heart, you've already determined that I'm not the person you're looking for, then why do you need to show mercy to me? Zhu Wuxian's deep eyes seemed to be hiding some kind of hurricane. He stared at Yi Qing Luo as his voice was deep and cold. Do you still want to ask questions? Yes. He didn't want to be entangled in this issue, and Yi Qing Luo naturally wouldn't pursue this issue with him. The news that she came from another world. The fewer people who knew, the better. This was especially true for someone like Zhu Wuxin, someone she didn't know if he was a friend or foe. All the more reason not to let him know. Zhu Wuxian squinted at Yi Qing Luo as his fingertips rubbed the wine cup. Ask. Yi Qing Luo asked, has the blood-bone barbaric king also collaborated with the Nether Palace? Zhu Wuxin stared at the wine glass without even lifting his gaze. I'm not familiar with it. I've never seen it. What he meant was, you didn't see him in the Palace of Gloomy Darkness. Or could it be that the barbaric blood-bone king had never appeared when he was in the Dark Nether Palace? Why does it feel like Zhu Wuxin doesn't seem to know anything when I ask him? Why can't you choose me? Is it only because I appeared later than him? Zhu Wuxian's next question followed closely. Yi Qing Luo's expression congealed as she deliberated over her words before she opened her mouth to reply. It's not because you appeared later than him. Something like love doesn't differentiate by who comes first. It's just that when I saw Xian, I had already determined that he was the person whom I wanted to be with for the rest of my life. Zhu Wuxin's eyes seemed to be covered by a black fog. Even the cold expression on her face could not conceal the chilliness that was emanating from her body. Yi Qing Luo intentionally didn't bother about Zhu Wuxian's emotions as she continued to ask, I want to know the detailed plan of secluded Darkness Palace in the Heaven Realm. This was the real crux of the matter. As long as he knew the plan of the Palace of Gloomy Darkness, she could think of a way to destroy the Palace of Darkness's plan in the Heaven Realm. Yi Qing Luo was waiting for Zhu Wuxian's reply. He watched helplessly as Yi Qing Luo picked up the wine cup which she had been holding tightly in her hand, and drained it in one gulp. Yi Qing Luo, okay, according to the rules. Indeed, he could use this method to evade an answer. Yiqing Luo retracted her gaze as she kicked the stone block which Zhu Wu Axian was sitting on. It's your turn to ask. Must it be him? Zhu Wu Axian placed the wine cup heavily on the stone table. The porcelain cup collided with the stone table, producing a crisp sound. Yiqing Luo patiently replied seriously, yes, it has to be him. If it's not him, it won't do. Then, she asked, is the person behind the scenes of the Dark Palace in the Heaven Realm? Zhu Wu Axian didn't hesitate as he picked up the wine cup and drained it in one gulp. Following that, he looked towards Yiqing Luo as he asked his own question. Initially, Yiqing Luo only treated her own question as it had touched the bottom line of his collaboration with Secluded Darkness Palace. So she avoided answering. But there were several questions consecutively. Even the simplest. How many people from Secluded Darkness Palace? This kind of question. Zhu Wu Axian directly drank the wine and then asked her own question. End of this chapter. Chapter 43-74. Yiqing Luo, don't go. A few times. How would Yiqing Luo not know? This guy was obviously doing it on purpose. If you want to drink, just say so. Was there any meaning in playing this game of you ask and I answer to get information from her? Moreover, the questions he asked were all about personal feelings. His words were instigating her to have a change of heart, quickly change of heart. To think that she had answered all his questions so seriously. After another question, Zhu Wuxin raised his wine cup and started drinking. Yiqing Luo couldn't bear it any longer as she stretched out her hand and pressed his hand which was holding the wine glass. If you want to drink, go back to your own place to drink, I won't accompany you. Due to the alcohol, Zhu Wuxin's eyes became hazy for a moment. That pair of black, glass-like eyes were even more dazzling. The coldness on her face faded a little. His hand was forcefully pressed back onto the stone table. The wine cup was placed behind the stone table. The girl then stood up. Zhu Wu Axian frantically stretched out his hand and grabbed the young lady's wrist. Yiqing Luo. Don't go. His voice was a little hoarse because of the alcohol. There seemed to be some pain in his hoarse voice. Yiqing Luo's hand moved. She was unable to struggle free from his palm. Yiqing Luo. I won't drink anymore. I'll answer the questions properly, alright. Zhu Wu Axian was apparently slightly drunk. When he spoke, he actually sounded a little humble. Yes. These two words surfaced in Yiqing Luo's mind. Because the man seemed to be begging her. His eyes were blurred by the smell of alcohol. That hoarse voice and bitter tone. Both of them were filled with unbearable humbleness. Yiqing Luo was in a daze, in her mind. Zhu Wuxin had always been a cold and aloof person with a poker face. He was a person who would remain calm even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him. Even if she was taught by others and learned a few sweet nothings. However, his personality was still extremely cold. But now, revealing one's true nature after drinking. Or was it that his heart was too uncomfortable? Why did he have to be so petty? Yiqing Luo had to admit. Looking at Zhu Wuxin's current state, she really couldn't bring herself to do it. Zhu Wu Axian was really good at using this trick of injuring himself to gain confidence. Yiqing Luo sighed and sat back. Alright, let go first. Zhu Wuxin obediently let go of him. He continued to stare at her with his misty eyes. She was not used to such a contrast. Unexpectedly, after Zhu Wuxin got drunk, he seemed to have changed into a different person. She pushed the glass away and looked at him sternly. Ask and answer directly. No one is allowed to drink. If you ask, you have to answer. Zhu Wuxin sat up straight. His cold face carried a hint of drunkenness and a different emotion. All right. Zhu Wu Axan was really good at using this trick of injuring himself to gain confidence. Yiqing Luo sighed and sat back. All right, let go first. Chu Wuxin obediently let go of him. He continued to stare at her with his misty eyes. She was not used to such a contrast. Unexpectedly, after Zhu Wuxin got drunk, he seemed to have changed into a different person. She pushed the glass away and looked at him sternly. Ask and answer directly. No one is allowed to drink. If you ask, you have to answer. Zhu Wuxin sat up straight. His cold face carried a hint of drunkenness and a different emotion. All right. She had not expected that after Zhu Wuxin got drunk, he seemed to have changed into another person. She pushed the glass away and looked at him sternly. Ask and answer directly. No one is allowed to drink. If you ask, you have to answer. Zhu Wuxin sat up straight. His cold face carried a hint of drunkenness and a different emotion. All right. End of this chapter. Chapter 4375. You indeed cared about him a lot. Yiqing Luo's expression turned indifferent. Her pair of eyes squinted. The young lady's change in emotions was naturally felt by Zhu Wuaxian. He looked at the expressionless young lady and suddenly laughed softly. Even if you look at me like this, it won't change the fact that he is unable to protect you. If you are with me, I will absolutely not let you suffer any harm. No one will dare to touch you. His words were sonorous and forceful, as though he was making a declaration. But it didn't move Yiqing Luo. In this world, the only person who understood her was Dmo Xian alone. Only Dmo Xian knew what she really wanted. She didn't need anyone's protection. She didn't need that kind of protection that would keep her like a canary, not being harmed at all. She would rely on Dmo Xian. But that was only because Dmo Xian was her man. She could choose to rely on him. But she didn't need to rely on him. But Zhu Wuaxian apparently didn't understand. Or perhaps, his so-called love was to protect her, not letting her get hurt. But he neglected the real thought of being loved by the one he loved. She had never felt that Dmo Xian was unable to protect her. Because Dmo Xian respected her choice, giving her a chance to grow. If she continued to fly slowly under Dmo Xian's wings, there was a possibility that one day, she would forget how to fly. She didn't want to become that kind of person. Haven't you always wanted to know why I didn't choose you? Yiqing Luo laughed as she raised her eyes and met his gaze. This is the reason. Protecting you, not willing to let you get hurt, is the reason why you rejected me. Zhu Wuaxian's cold face was covered with a thin layer of frost. You won't understand. Yiqing Luo didn't want to argue with him on this topic. But Zhu Wuaxian obviously didn't intend to let this matter rest. His expression was solemn and his tone was chilly. His entire body was filled with a chilly intent. Yiqing Luo, Huangfu's siblings knew your identity but still dared to lay their hands on you. Isn't it because of Dmo Xian's incompetence? If he could show a little bit of courage, Huangfu's siblings would take a detour when they see you. This could be. This was the longest speech that Zhu Wuxin had ever spoken, right? Yiqing Luo slowly stood up. Her expression was no longer as calm as it had been when they met face to face. His gaze carried with it an aura of disdain for the entire world. She placed her hands on the stone table and leaned over to look at him. That pair of long and narrow eyes were flowing with brilliance, lazy and noble. Every single one of her movements was like that of an empress, emitting a domineering aura. She was angry. Just like that, Zhu Wuxin raised his head and their eyes met. Their eyes were filled with different kinds of hurricanes. Sparks flew as they collided with each other. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up in ridicule, her tone was icy cold and filled with an intense viciousness. It wasn't just anger. Moreover, he was very angry. Don't think that I don't know what request the people of the gloomy palace agreed to the Huangfu siblings. Are you trying to sow discord between me and Xian? Aren't you guys looking down on me? Chu Wuxin still did not speak. The cold air spread between the two of them. It was as if it had been frozen into frost. After a long time, a self-mocking chuckle broke the silence at this moment. Ha! That laugh made one's heart wrench inexplicably. You indeed care about him a lot. He couldn't tolerate anyone saying anything bad about him. And he couldn't tolerate anyone doubting him. Update complete. Moi, end of this chapter. Chapter 4376. Chu Wuaxian felt that it was funny. He was unable to understand why he had to endure these disturbing words in front of Yiqing Luo. Logic told him very clearly. Don't ask any more questions regarding that person. But, his body was not under his control. He just couldn't help but want to see, in Yiqing Luo's heart, what kind of position that person occupied. A fluke hope. He could surpass that person, to let Yiqing Luo remember him. But, now, he saw it. To Yiqing Luo, that person was more important than herself. Jealous? It's jealousy. Jealous, wanting to take Yiqing Luo as his own, to belong to him alone. In her mind, there was only the memory of him. Zhu Wuaxian. Yiqing Luo sensed that Zhu Wuaxian's breathing was very messy. Even his aura was uncontrollably agitated. As though something was undergoing a change. Yiqing Luo called out to Zhu Wuaxian. But she didn't get a reply from him. She stretched out her hand and pushed Zhu Wuaxian. Zhu Wuaxian's eyes then focused, as it slowly landed on Yiqing Luo. Forget it, you're drunk so there's no need to continue this game. Yiqing Luo said, I'll send you to the inn. Wait. Zhu Wuaxian made a sound, as his deep black eyes, cold and indifferent gaze, was strangely breathtaking. He swayed his body, as he slowly stood up. That cold face which was dyed red by the alcohol, had a different style. Earlier, you asked me a question, now. It's my turn to ask you the last question. Zhu Wuaxian's gaze towards her, had a subtle change. Yiqing Luo looked at his swaying body. Nor had any intention to support him. She stood on the original spot, her pink lips slightly tightened. After muttering to herself for a moment, she said, the last question, you ask. Zhu Wuxin stared at her face without blinking, as if he was trying to memorize her face. That fervent gaze. It made Yiqing Luo have an inexplicable ominous premonition. Before she had time to think in detail, she heard Zhu Wuaxian's cold voice asking, do you still remember, when you reached the earth boundary, you fell into a coma for half a month? That was the first thing I did wrong. Yiqing Luo's brows twitched. He continued, Yiqing Luo, if I'm wrong for the second time, will you still treat me as your friend? Yiqing Luo's expression sunk. His heart felt like it had been struck by something. Her pupils suddenly contracted, her eyes locked onto Zhu Wuaxian's face. You, what do you mean? As soon as the words left his mouth, she felt dizzy all of a sudden. His body swayed weakly. Then, he collapsed to the ground. However, the person who should have been slightly drunk and surrounded by the smell of alcohol reached out his hand quickly and caught hold of her firmly. His footsteps were steady and steady, where was the slightest bit of his previous shakiness? Yiqing Luo's chest tightened. You are lying to me. He was not drunk at all. His goal, from the very beginning, was to lay his hands on her. She was really stupid. He could even get Zhu Wuxin to use the same method to deceive him a second time. Yiqing Luo was so angry that she wanted to slap herself. He also wanted to tear Zhu Wuxin apart. But her entire body was weak and her mind was in a mess. It made her unable to maintain her consciousness. In the end, her thoughts had completely drifted away. Just as her eyes had sunk into darkness. Faintly, she heard the man's icy cold and helpless voice, "I'm sorry. This is the last time. Hurry up and read the latest updates." Download address. Chapter 4377. Yi Qing Luo, go to hell for the last time. I will tear you into pieces for the last time as well. Yi Qing Luo's heart was going berserk. If only she believed Zhu Wuxian for one more time. She was an idiot. Heaven Realm, Old City Palace. The emperor was dressed in a bright yellow dragon robe, leading numerous palace servants as he stood respectfully at a certain spot. All of them had an extremely devout expression on their faces. As though they were welcoming some important person. Everyone didn't know how long they stood there. Their foreheads were dripping with sweat. But they still maintained a respectful attitude as they waited quietly. Behind the emperor, a young man stood beside an empress in a phoenix robe. He wiped the sweat off his forehead and said impatiently, "Mother, who is father welcoming? Who is it that needs us to welcome personally? What kind of person is father welcoming?" Not only did he welcome them personally, but they still hadn't arrived. They were the Heaven Realm's royal family. The master who controlled the entire Heaven Realm. They actually had to wait for someone in such a lowly manner. Even the 4 heavenly families didn't have such treatment right. The young man's voice wasn't loud. But it wasn't small. The emperor glanced sideways, his gaze was sharp and filled with warning. The empress immediately grabbed her son's arm, using her gaze to stop his displeasure. The young man pouted unhappily. It was all Imperial Sister's fault, disappearing so early in the morning. Causing him to be dragged here by father to stand for 2 hours. He wasn't even allowed to rest or drink any water. His heart was filled with injustice. But thinking of father's warning gaze, the young man suppressed the discomfort in his body, as he stood on the spot obediently. But the impatient expression on his face didn't retract. Just at this moment. Suddenly a piece of pure and holy light shrouded in all directions. Following that, a ray of light was cast downwards. The emperor's face was instantly filled with joy as he coughed lightly, reminding the people behind to maintain their manners. The empress hurriedly pulled the young man below. What entered everyone's eyes was a huge 9-tailed white fox. Its 4 limbs were burning like flames, its 9 furry long tails were intertwining and swaying. That elegant and noble 9-tailed fox approached from afar. The crowd could only feel a tremendous pressure crushing down upon them. The young man stared at that 9-tailed fox, as his eyes were covered by the flames. 9-tailed fox, a pure white 9-tailed fox without any impurities. What a beautiful 9-tailed fox. The youth could not suppress the restlessness in his heart. Greetings, Lord Overlord. The emperor's voice was filled with excitement. Then, he knelt down in the direction of the 9-tailed fox. A group of palace servants followed suit and knelt down. The youth's reaction was a step too slow and he was forcefully pressed to the ground by the empress. The youth knelt on the ground, but he could not help but glance at the mighty 9-tailed fox from the corner of his eyes. A figure slowly walked down from the back of the 9-tailed fox. That figure was tall and stalwart. He wore a shimmering purple brocade robe with silver embroidery. His black hair was tied up in a simple jade crown. His aura was boundlessly domineering, and he exuded a noble and cold aura. Following the appearance of the man, a terrifying aura spread out in all directions. Even the air had become much thinner. That person was as elegant and noble as a god. No one dared to look at him directly. After the man landed on the ground, the huge and mighty nine-tailed fox disappeared in front of everyone in the blink of an eye. Lord Overlord, I have specially prepared a banquet to welcome you from thousands of miles away. Please do me the honor, Lord Overlord. The Emperor's tone was indescribably excited. Chapter 4378. Dmo Xian's face was grave and stern, his deep eyes were devoid of any thoughts. Your Majesty should be clear about the purpose of this sovereign's visit. Yes, 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 the Emperor immediately replied respectfully. I will definitely do my best to complete the task that the Overlord has entrusted to me. I believe there will be results very soon. Dmo Xian nodded slightly and walked past the Emperor, heading towards another direction. The Emperor quickly stood up and followed respectfully behind Dmo Xian. Along the way, the Emperor was trying to think of a way to strike up a conversation with Dmo Xian. But helplessly, Dmo Xian did not have much ideas and did not bother about him. A group of palace maids followed behind. They had just passed the imperial garden and were about to reach the banquet venue. Suddenly, a sharp voice rang. This princess is so angry. What right does that person have to make this princess pay for the crystals? And that by May, she actually put all the losses on this princess's head. Who does she think she is? There were palace maids trying to persuade her in a low voice. But that sharp voice was obviously infuriated and did not listen to any words at all. She even directly took action and sent all the palace maids flying. This interlude made the Emperor's face sink immediately. His sharp gaze stared fiercely at the Empress. Then he put on a smile and carefully explained. I've let the Overlord see a joke. This princess of mine usually only recites some words from the script. Now she is immersed in her role again. Dmo Xian suddenly paused his footsteps and looked towards the direction where the voice came from. The Emperor's face turned even uglier as he looked at Dmo Xian with even more caution. Overlord, if I have disturbed you, I will, before he could finish his words. At the corner, a figure walked out. That woman was in a mess and looked like she had just gone through a chaotic battle. The beautiful face that could be considered delicate, however, was filled with malevolence and anger. At this corner, both sides bumped into each other. When that woman saw the Emperor, the twisted expression on her face immediately changed. She ran towards the royal father with small steps, opened her mouth and started wailing with grievance. Royal father, Zhu was bullied by that person from the Gu residence. That person from the Gu residence provoked the royal family and even threatened to let the Gu residence rule the heaven domain. Gong Xia Zhu. The Emperor's face was ashen. He wanted nothing more than to strangle this daughter of his. What a coincidence. Just happened to run into his bossy daughter. He shouted harshly and hurriedly tried to salvage the situation. Can't you see that I am receiving an honored guest? If you want to practice your script, find a palace maid to accompany you. Imperial father. Gong Xiaozhu had yet to react. Then she saw the Empress winking at her. Only then did she come to a realization. Her gaze followed the Empress' line of sight and landed on the man at the side. Gong Xiaozhu's eyes widened. His heart felt like it was about to jump out of his throat. It was just a clash of gazes. Gong Xiaozhu felt her legs go soft and weak. Who is that? He was 1,000,000 times more handsome than her brother Ming. The expression on her face suddenly changed as her eyes were filled with infatuation as she looked at Dmo Xian. What are you waiting for? Take her away. Gong Xiaozhu's actions almost caused the imperial capital to have a heart attack. He felt that his life would be shortened by several years after this. After being reprimanded, the Empress hurriedly apologized. After that, he pulled Gong Xiaozhu's arm, asking her to bow down and apologize to Dmo Xian before pulling her along to leave. Chapter 4379. Stop right there. His deep and cold voice had a hint of coldness in it. Dmo Xian's gaze fell on Gong Shizhu. Empress was so scared that her body went soft as she pulled Gong Shizhu to kneel on the ground. The emperor's expression was also extremely unsightly. He was both terrified and asked tentatively, "Lord Dizun, you are..." Dmo Xian raised his hand and stopped Emperor. After that, he looked at Gong Xiazhu and said word by word, "You know Bai Mei." Gong Xiazhu thought that Dmo Xian had stopped her because he had taken a fancy to her beauty. She even met Dmo Xian's gaze and stroked her hair coquettishly. The moment she heard Dmo Xian mention her name, she was stunned. Empress pinched Gong Xiazhu anxiously. "Zhu, if you know Bai Mei, tell the overlord." Gong Xiazhu sucked in a breath of cold air in pain as she pursed her lips in grievance. "I do know Bai Mei, Bai Mei." The emperor repeated the name in his mind. He finally understood why the overlord suddenly stopped in his tracks. Earlier, Gong Xiazhu had mentioned Bai Mei's name while she was cursing. And this name, wasn't it the person whom the overlord wanted him to look for in the heaven realm? He had not expected that after searching for so many days, his own daughter actually knew that person called Bai Mei. Emperor immediately said, "Xiazhu, if you know who Bai Mei is, get someone to bring her here. She is the person whom the overlord is looking for." As he spoke, he hinted Gong Xiazhu with his eyes. As long as Gong Xiazhu brought Bai Mei here, then she could take the opportunity to let the overlord forgive her for her offense. But Emperor's words had a different meaning in Gong Xiazhu's ears. The overlord specially came to the heaven realm to look for a woman. Could it be that there was an indescribable relationship between the overlord and Bai Mei? Thinking of this, Gong Xiazhu's heart was filled with jealousy. Such an outstanding man, much more outstanding than Ren Jianming. His status was distinguished and he was powerful. This kind of man should have chosen such an outstanding woman like her. Thinking of Bai Mei's disgusting side, Gong Xiazhu's face revealed a disgusted expression. "Overlord, I'm afraid you don't know what kind of person Bai Mei is. She's a monster." As she spoke, she purposely rubbed her arms, her whole body shivering. "You don't know, that face of hers is completely fake. She was using someone else's face as her own. Actually, she's so ugly that she's disgusting." Xia Zhu. How could the emperor not hear what his daughter was thinking? He warned her sternly to stop her from talking nonsense. Immediately after that, he gave a dry laugh and said to Dmo Xian, "Overlord, don't listen to Xia Zhu's nonsense. She might have been lost in the storybook and hasn't walked out from it yet." "It's her," Dmo Xian said lightly. The emperor's explanation was stuck in his throat. "It's her." The meaning was, the Bai Mei that Gong Xiazhu mentioned was the person he was looking for. The emperor's mind was in turmoil. But he also knew what he shouldn't ask. He hurriedly bowed and said, "We will ask Xia Zhu to bring him here." "I can't find her." Gong Xiazhu didn't expect that the person the overlord was looking for was that ugly freak. She said with some hesitation, after her face was ruined, "She went crazy and I don't know where she ran off to." "Xia Zhu," the emperor bellowed sternly as his expression turned gloomy. Gong Xiazhu felt a little wronged from his glare. "Usually she's the one who takes the initiative to look for me. I really don't know where she is. Hurry up and read the latest update." Download address, mobile phone reading. Chapter 4380. The emperor was drenched in cold sweat. "Lord Dizun, although Xia Zhu is naughty, she's also very sensible. She really doesn't know where that woman called Bai Mei is. Dmo Xian's expression did not fluctuate in the slightest, his gaze was as deep as the abyss. He didn't care about the terrified looks on the faces of the people around him. He stared straight at Gong Xiaozhu and asked, "Why is she looking for you?" Gong Xiaozhu had goosebumps all over her body from that gaze. She shivered and shrank back. Huang hatefully gritted his teeth and said angrily, "Whatever Lord Dizun asks you, just answer." Gong Xiaozhu lowered her head, feeling very indignant. She was such an outstanding woman standing in front of him. He only wanted to ask about that ugly monster, Bai Mei. If he could be a little gentler, she could also consider giving up on Ren Jianming and accept him. However, Gong Xiaozhu was still unwilling. Faced with her father's sharp gaze and the aura that was pressing down on her, she hesitated and said reluctantly, "She and I have a common enemy." Gong Xiaozhu, who had her head lowered, didn't see that when she said those words, a glint flashed past Dmo Xian's eyes. She continued, "She took the initiative to find me and said that she could help me deal with that bitch from the Gu residence. She could even ally with the Huangfu clan to help me." Dmo Xian, what's the result? He didn't know if it was an illusion. Gong Xiaozhu always felt that Dizun's originally majestic and suffocating aura had been slightly restrained. Vaguely, they seemed to see a smile on Dizun's face, which was so magnificent that no one dared to look at it. Gong Xiaozhu was stunned again. Only when the Empress pinched her again did she return to her senses. She stammered, in the end, the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion took the young miss of the Gu clan away, and Bai Mei left, Red Clear Pavilion. Pavilion master. Dmo Xian muttered softly, as his gaze suddenly turned cold. A bone-piercing cold aura instantly spread out. It caused everyone's heart to tremble. Immediately after, she heard Dmo Xian's deep and icy cold voice rang out, "Eldest young miss of the Gu residence, right?" There was a hint of danger in his tone. Gong Xiaozhu seemed to have understood something, and a trace of hatred flashed across her eyes. Yes. It was the first young miss of the Gu residence, that fickle woman. Not only did she seduce the second young master of the Ren family, she even seduced the young master of the Huangfu family. After that, when she saw the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion, she used all of her skills to seduce the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion. Only then did she force Bai Mei to leave. If he could borrow the Dizun's hand to kill the first young miss of the Gu clan, he would definitely be able to do so. Even if Bone Lord appeared, he might not be able to stop His Majesty. That slut must die. As expected, the Dizun's face became even colder. The dangerous glint in his eyes was like a cold blade. Gong Xiaozhu was scared stiff. But his heart was excited. Overlord. The emperor suppressed the fear in his heart and glared at Gong Xiaozhu. But Gong Xiaozhu didn't even look at him. Her face was distorted as she looked at Dmo Xian with an obvious intention. Without waiting for the emperor to speak, a gust of wind blew over. That shimmering purple figure had already disappeared from everyone's line of sight. In the air, the man's deep and icy cold voice floated down, like a voice from hell demanding for their lives. The matter regarding the Heaven Realm's princess, after this lord has found her. Be prepared to pay the price for this. Icy cold words. It fell into everyone's heart. It was like an icicle, ruthlessly piercing into their hearts. The fastest update speed, hurry up and read it. Download address, mobile phone reading. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.